"40mm is a very useful focal length. I use it in the studio, I use it for street photography and also for travel photography." Over the years, Voigtlander came out with two very well built and classy looking 40mm manual focus lenses for Nikon F-mount. In this video, I'm gonna compare certain aspects of these two lenses. But before we get started, a quick look. This one is the old version. And this one is the new one. As you can see, their exteriors look quite different. However, they share one common thing in the inside, and that is a CPU chip. Thanks to that, the lenses communicate with Nikon bodies. To be more precise, they communicate the distance and exposure information, and this means that modern cameras can get very accurate flash metering with these lenses. Thanks to the aperture ring, which can be found on both lenses, they are also fully compatible with older Nikon SL-IIs, making them an interesting choice for film shooters who want to buy something new. Now let's get started so that you can find out which one of those two lenses is the one you should get. Let's take a look at the weight of the two competitors. For that purpose, I brought my coffee scale, which is a very precise measuring instrument. Let's start with the original SL. And without any accessories attached, the lens weighs almost 180 grams. Now the new one. And as you can see, the new one is quite a bit heavier. It is around 250 grams. Looking at these lenses side by side makes one difference quite obvious. The older version is very small, and the new version is still quite small compared to other lenses, but a little bit bigger than the old one. No, not a little bit, a considerable bit. Take a look at that. Now both lenses are focused at infinity. Let's change that. Now I've set both lenses to 0.5 meters, and you can see a bit of extension going on the left, but the new version seems to extend even a bit further. Let's take a look at the front elements. As you can see, both lenses are about the same size if we just look at them like this. So I'd say they are just, I don't know, half a centimeter or so larger than the F-mount bayonet on the bottom. So compared to some new Nikon lenses, this is quite small. To compare the design and handling of both 40mm lenses, I put them on my Nikon FM3. As you can see already, the old version matches the look perfectly, although looking a little bit newer design-wise. So, focusing ring operation is buttery smooth, and I've never had this lens serviced, so that's a plus. Looking at the aperture ring, it is set in full stops and they feel very tight. I'd say that this version might also look very good on newer DSLRs. So yeah, it's a good looking lens, And in terms of build quality, it feels like something that actually Leica or Zeiss would build. So Voigtlander is a premium lens brand. That is important to note. Looking at the new Voigtlander, there are many things to talk about design-wise. First of all, the focusing ring has this ridged design, which was very common back in the days. This is a very cool thing, as the ring can be grabbed easily and operated very, very smoothly. Taking a look further back at the aperture ring. The aperture ring has of course Nikon's indexing system to be used with recent DSLRs, but it also has this bunny ears thing for use with older Nikon cameras. For most of you this won't matter much, but design-wise it's a nice touch and a reference to Nikon's legacy. Just like the old version, the aperture ring operates in full stops. It is also a nice little touch that the aperture numbers have the classic Nikon coloring on them. The new design has actually one downside. The lens is quite a bit beefier, and if you put your camera down, the focusing ring is touching the surface, which is a very common thing, but just expect to get some scratches on the focusing ring over time if you put the camera down like this. Again, talking about size differences between the old and the new 40mm, I'd like to point out the difference when it comes to lens hoods. So this one is the lens hood for the old 40mm. It's a metal screw-in type that does not really extend that far. Actually, it makes the lens just a few millimeters bigger. The new Voigtlander comes with a much bigger lens hood. It is also an all-metal screw-in construction. And once we get those two lenses side by side, we can see that the new version again got quite a bit bigger than the old one. I have to admit that I didn't test whether this old construction is as effective in reducing stray light as the new one is. I can only tell from my experience that the new one with the lens hood attached handles stray light perfectly. In order to compare the image quality of both 40mm lenses, I'm gonna use my Nikon D800 36 megapixel DSLR camera. Let's compare the two lenses in a close focusing scenario. The old version focuses down to 38 centimeters, while the new one goes down to 25 centimeters, which is very, very close for a 40mm lens. It is important to note that the old lens comes with a close focusing attachment. However, I don't bother bringing these accessories, so I just tested the lenses at 38 centimeters. Let's start. On the left hand side is the old one and on the right hand side the new one. Let's get closer. So as you can see, there is no real difference in sharpness or rendition of detail. I'd say that the old version shows a little bit of color shift in the out of focus areas, but yeah, that's really nothing to write home about. Let's go to f2.8. No difference between the two lenses at f2.8 again. However, both lenses get considerably sharper when stopped down. f4, well, looks about the same as well. Both are incredibly sharp. Again, from a sharpness perspective, Both lenses are perfect at f5.6. And last but not least, a comparison at f8. Yeah, I mean, the image quality is absolutely outstanding. I didn't add any sharpening. This is just what the camera got from these two 40mm lenses. Gorgeous. It also seems like that the field of view is pretty much the same at this distance. As a bonus, I took one close-up shot with the 40mm version 2. That's this one. Of course it gets darker because of the extension of the lens, so we have to push it a little bit. But you can see that it is not a macro lens, but yeah, you can get nice close-up shots with the new 40mm. That's a huge thing, I'd say. That's a huge thing. For the next test, I captured a subject at around 5 meters distance. Let's start with the f2 image. Yes, looks pretty similar. Even when zooming in, the old version and the new version, they are practically indistinguishable. f2.8. So, I did a small exposure adjustment here, so that's why these two appear brighter. But apart from that, they look identical. Take a look. An incredible amount of detail, no chromatic aberrations that would matter. Next, f4. Very contrasty images. I think we can say without zooming in that there is no way to pick one lens over the other. f5.6. Look at the colors, look at the contrast. This is really fantastic. Let's take a look at this high contrast area over here. There is absolutely no flaw. So, and at f8. As you can see, excellent color rendition, excellent sharpness, practically no distortion. Yeah, both lenses are a dream. All right. Also, no winner in the medium range. All right, the last test comparing both lenses at infinity. Okay, here we are. That's hard to tell. I'd say that's inconclusive. Both lenses are very sharp, so it seems. Next, f2.8. Let's go in there. Yes, incredible sharpness, I'd say. Yeah, this is impressive. Also, vignetting is almost gone in these images. f4. Nice and contrasty. This is where things start to improve, especially in the infinity area. However, it is still not quite there around f4 for infinity, but we will see whether things improve around f5.6. And yeah, if we don't overdo it and stick around 100%, I'd say looks pretty good again. Last comparison, f8, which is a reasonable aperture for landscape shots. Both images look very sharp. Again, I'd say both lenses are indistinguishable. And both are very solid performers. Very solid performers. So which one of those two lenses should you get? I recommend getting the newer one. There are two reasons for that. First, the new design, which makes it easier and more pleasant to use than the old one. The focusing ring is super grippy, and it's also nice that the lens isn't that small if you are shooting with it all day long. The second point is that this lens focuses really close, and this makes it far more versatile than the older version, where you need to screw in some attachment and so on, which you're gonna forget at home anyways. I gotta go because one of those lenses goes on eBay. So thanks for watching, consider subscribing or following me on Instagram, and see you next time.